Being 6 o'clock, call this meeting of the Chelmsford School Committee to order. We all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the CPS website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Policy. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of this meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak, provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made part of the record of the meeting during the second public input session. So welcome to this meeting of the Chelmsford School Committee. Our first order of business is to approve our minutes for our meeting on May 7th.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes from our May 7th meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, anybody have any corrections on the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 4-0. All right, next up, our student representatives.
Hi everyone. So this past weekend was our Lime Club Student Leadership and Community Services 24-hour relay at the high school, which called for teams of students to spend 24 hours at the high school and participate in events such as a midnight ice cream social. And last week was the seniors' last week of school, and they had spirit days going up until their last day with pajama day, beach day, Chelmsford day, college day where they all wore their college shirts and a jersey and sundresses. But seniors who have to take their class finals can return back to class, and those who have participated in the senior internship program will return this Thursday to do their internship presentation, sharing what they've done and learned over their time. And today was the junior class's job shadow day, meaning rather than attending school, juniors were able to job shadow anyone in any field they'd liked. And today I went to the Timberland headquarters in New Hampshire, and I spoke to adults in the company's finance team and got to listen into 2 of their meetings, which was pretty cool. And tonight is the alumni award ceremony in which seniors can win different scholarships that have specific requirements for people who do certain activities and have met outstanding requirements. So Kay is there actually right now, so congrats to her.
I was going to say this probably what Kay is tonight. I wanted to congratulate her too. I guess she was named salutatorian of her class. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
so I don't know if she'll be here for our next meeting or not, since she's graduating.
I think she may.
All right, really sure. Hopefully you'll be too.
And then again, speaking of seniors, their senior events will be starting next week with a senior breakfast on Tuesday, and the students will also be returning to their elementary schools and middle schools. They also have a barbecue that day, and then prom will be the next day at the Castleton Banquet Center in Windham, New Hampshire from 6 to 10, and then thereafter prom will follow at the senior center from 11 to 5 a.m. And then Saturday will be their graduation at the Songus Center from 4 to 7.
Great. Thank you for everything. All right, anybody else have any good news?
We have some good news. I just wanted to report that we received all of our access testing back, and we had 69 students, which is the largest amount of students that have exited from L services in our district. So they no longer need L services. 69 is pretty good. Very, very good. Yeah, we're very excited about that. And then by the time we meet the next time, we will have graduated the 107th graduating class of CHS. And by the time we meet next time, it's going to be great.
Great.
Is that a record on the number of students?
That's very high for us. That's very good.
That's amazing.
And that's across all age ranges?
Yes, that's the K through 12.
Okay, great.
Right, anyone that was receiving services.
Nice. All right, anybody else have any good news they would like to share?
Just want to share, I was at the Parker Pride Run on, was it Sunday? My son ran in it, and I got to be a spectator, and I just wanted to give them kudos. It was a really great event. Lots of people were present, community members, parents, and students from all age groups in the district were either there to compete or there to walk and have fun. I think the winning time was something like 11 minutes, so just super fast for a 2-mile run. So it was a great event.
That's great.
It's like my 1 mile.
What's that?
It's like my 1 mile.
Maybe a half mile. All right, anybody else have any good news? Okay, I don't think we have any public comments.
We don't. We'll actually jump right into the agenda tonight. So on a new business, we have a number of different reports. It's kind of a spotlight on Joanna. We'll get to a little later because there's a lot of financial reports. But for the first one, I always provide, excuse me, to you a student enrollment update after we do our second set of registration for kindergarten. And sometimes we get a couple of trickling in first graders who maybe did a private kindergarten or who didn't do kindergarten at all. So we just provided you those numbers through last week on May 16th. So overall, we've had a pretty good enrollment. Our overall number is relatively on par with where we expect it to be at this point of the year. We do still obviously take any students in for kindergarten right through the first day of school and even after, depending if people move to town. But at this point in time, I'm going to keep a close eye on Byam and Center because those numbers, are trickling up close to the, Byam's approaching 90 and Center is at 93. Usually once we hit 95, 96 is when we would consider adding an additional section of the classes. So we're going to keep monitoring that through like around July 4th, see what the numbers are looking like at that point. And if we ever did need to add a fifth class, I'd obviously work with the principals to do so, and I would let you know. But the numbers, as I stand right now, are actually pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised about Harrington and South Row. Those numbers being low, usually it's Harrington that we get a little bit of an increase from over the summertime. So for them only being at 81 is good at this point. And then as far as our first grade numbers go, not too significant, just 6 additional kids have registered for first grade. So we're going to maintain our classes for first grade for the fall. But I am keeping a close eye on kindergarten for you, particularly at Byam and Center.
Any,
Number 6, is that usual, like an average of what we usually get as additional?
Yeah,
Folks.
honestly, that's not a number I track too closely, just because it's typically under 10. So
Okay.
it's spread out over the 4 schools, so a couple of kids here or there really isn't going to throw the numbers off. We've already kind of locked into the enrollments for those grades. If that ever hit, 20 or 25, that would be significant for us, but it's typically under 10 students. And again, most of those are kids coming maybe from like a private kindergarten that are coming to us for first grade for the fall.
Okay.
So there will be some more coming as kindergarten years end for some of these kids.
Well, no, these kids, they kind of know their kindergarten's ending, so they're registering ahead of time for the fall, for first grade.
I was told today by a parent that she had to wait until after the last day of kindergarten before she was allowed to register her child for first grade.
No, we have kids that come in now, like preemptively, to
I
get
will let
ready
her
for
know.
the fall. Yeah, as long as they're, again, the numbers are not significant, so as long as they do so, if they could try to do it, the sooner the better, just for us, for planning purposes. Really, for them, it allows us to get them on the distribution list. They start to get the communications for the fall. But 6 kids isn't going to throw us off.
I'll let you know. It's someone you've talked to.
Someone I talked to?
You've talked to them, so maybe you
Okay.
already know.
Yeah, we can talk about it offline. Thanks.
any other questions?
Do we know of any occupancy permitting that's coming along this summer that would add a substantial number of new units? Because I know signs have been going up for sale, which usually happens over, the spring into the summer. And so there's more, so potentially that could lead to more numbers. But do we know of any new units that are coming on that, over the summer?
No, so obviously, we're in the spring housing market. If homes are going to sell, oftentimes in the spring is when they put them up. So we may see some turnover there. As far as like newer, bigger developments coming online, nothing specific for September. I think the biggest one we're kind of keeping an eye on is the West Campus. They have broken ground, they are building, but they're at least a year away, if not a little longer, from being at a point where they would actually start to lease or rent out any of those properties. As a total aside, I did forward to you last week that application that the town had received for a new potential 40B development on River Neck Road.
Yes.
So obviously, that isn't going to affect us for a number of years, but I am starting to include that as we're doing our longer-term enrollment planning with MSBA for the school building project. I'll work with the town to kind of estimate, based on the number of bedrooms that they have, what potential students could be like. The design and plan looks very similar to West Campus as far as the type of units, what they would be, number of bedrooms and things like that, and what they would be renting for. So I think we'll be able to utilize some of our data from West Campus to make some projections on that. But you're probably 4+ years out from actually having any inhabitants.
Well, I know we have really good communication with the town, and what happened. And I know select board, we have a delegate to the select board, not planning board, which is where we might hear more about what's coming on in terms of developments. So is there a way that we regularly keep in touch with them on what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, just ironically, Evan Belansky is the planner.
We'll let you know.
And I met with him today because I need some data from them for our enrollment projection with the
Yes.
MSBA. And we kind of flagged that potential 40B development. Anytime there's something big that comes along between Evan and Paul on the town side,
They'll let you
they're
know.
very good about letting us know.
Okay.
You know, obviously, the housing market's a little bit different, like if someone sells a single-family home and things like that, you know, there's no one to really like alert us to that, but I'm not that concerned about a house. It's the developments. In particular, again, for schools, it's the under 55s. Because like there are some over 55 communities being planned, but they're not going to generate school students. So I'm not too concerned about that. We can obviously track those if we need to. But no, they've been very good about telling us. And even when we had NESDEC come in to help us with the longer-term demographic study, they had already identified anything that had been permitted. So that was included in the projection. And then like this new 40B one will be added on as an additional unpermitted but potential. And there's a way to project out like what year it would actually come online. So I feel pretty good about that. I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
nothing
know-
major for the fall.
9 Acton Road, the one right in the center there, where the
Used to be a
dance studio used to be, behind the.
bowling alley back in the
It was
day.
bowling alley
Yeah.
back in the day, over there by Bartlett Street, 9 Acton Road. It's right at the.
It's a smaller complex.
It's a,
Really?
yeah, but I'd say, I don't
Right
know, how
behind
many
where
units?
Gristmill is.
20 units?
Probably like that, yeah.
It looks almost done.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that would be center school.
I will gladly take a peek. I can't
Yeah.
visualize like where that is, but if you fill me in afterward,
Yeah,
I'll
just
take a
curious
peek.
because
for you.
Across
it
the street
looks
from
almost
Fishbones.
done.
It is almost done.
Yeah.
Going up Acton Road on the right.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
It's when you're coming around the circle and all where the library is, it's
Yeah.
just off there. You can see it from all that wraparound that goes around.
Oh, up on the right?
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
gonna go out the
Yes.
road to buy them?
Exactly.
On the right there, okay.
Yeah,
Looks more like townhousey?
right.
Okay. I can find out when that's gonna
Yeah.
open up, but something like that, as long as it was permitted, would already be in the
In the
projection.
projections.
So that would be,
But if they're not moved in
Accounted
yet,
for.
they wouldn't be registered, so,
well, we wouldn't have the students yet.
right.
But as far as like the NASDAQ
planning.
and even the MSBA for longer-term planning,
Yeah.
we'd be okay.
Yeah.
But I'll find out when they're coming online.
Because it looks close.
Yeah, that would definitely feed center
Yeah,
and obviously the middle schools. But yeah, we'll take a peek at that. The biggest concern for me, I mean, again, this is years down the line, is if something did happen with the Riverneck property, that is also center. And, you know, if we saw, you know, even if it follows a similar trajectory to UMass Lowell, you know, another 50 to 75 kids coming from that development
Right.
to center. We just don't know what grade levels they'd be in and things like that. Hopefully there'd be a good distribution. But we're starting to get a couple that would be pretty significant over there. And we just don't have the capacity. So at least it is, you know, 4+ years out, but it's on the radar.
Okay.
that's actually my question. So this current year, we have 4 sections of kindergarten in all 4 schools?
As of right now.
Okay, if we had to add a 5th, is there room to add a 5th?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, in certain schools, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Than it is in others. Center School, I'd have to look at my numbers. I believe they actually may have had a 4th grade that's kind of filtering out now. So they would have capacity if they
Okay.
had to.
Yeah.
But it's getting tight.
Yeah,
you know.
that's why I asked.
Like, with Byam is pretty much 5 across the board. So Byam really would not have capacity to go beyond the 5, you know, but most grade levels, kindergarten's gonna be their only grade level as of right now with 4. But if we ever got in a situation where we had to do like 6, that would be really, really tight,
Yeah. Okay.
so.
Hopefully by then.
We'll have a new middle school.
Let's hope, but, no, I'm not, none of the bigger projects are gonna significantly impact us for the fall, but I have my eye on it. And Paul and Evan have been very good.
Okay.
they need to build a little more slowly so it lines up with going to the school finally. Just a little.
And yet we
A
need more
6-year
more
build would
housing.
certainly be
We-
beneficial.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, any other questions on kindergarten, 1st grade? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Second up tonight is update for you. This is the time of the year that we start to talk about our student transportation program. We share the fees and the dates for registration with you. So I would ask Joanna to walk us through this information.
Thank you. So for the transportation section, we're going to do a little year in review this year, and then we're going to talk about the fees for next year, which you'll need to take a vote on. And then our flyer that we put on the website and send out in Connect Messages is also in the packet. Each year, we transport about 3,600 students. Actually, this year was a record year, and we had 3,625. 29 buses run daily, and they make 3 runs. They do the high school and drop those kids off, then they go to the middle school and drop those kids off, and then go to the elementary school. The fee structure, and also just a reminder, we also do late runs. So for the after-school programs, we provide the transportation Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays to the middle school and high school, October through this year, the end of May. The fee structure is, there's a little chart there, and everyone pays a fee for the bus, except if you're in grades K to 6 over 2 miles. And every year, we ask families to register to ride the bus, even if there's no fee. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Every year, we ask families to register to ride the bus, even if there's no fee. We need to know you're out there, and then we develop our routes, we develop our bus stops, so please register to ride the bus. The second page of the memo is when the registrations came in this year. So we had, over 2,000 students register early, 578 in July. And then this is where we get a big bubble. In August, we had almost 700 students register. So we really appreciate families registering early, and that helps us with our planning. And then the next section is all the schools and how many buses run at each school, how many students are on the bus, and the average count. And remember, the bus's capacity is like 83 students. The big difference this year was with the McCarthy and Parker Middle School grade reconfiguration. Those students, they ride the same bus. So grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, they go pick up the students, they do the drop-off at McCarthy, and then they carry on to Parker, and then the reverse on the way home. So I kind of did a little line to show you how many students are riding for McCarthy, how many are riding for Parker, but it still keeps the average at about 48 on those big buses. We plan to, after the families register, it's the same system as we've used the past few years. You go on to My School Bucks, and you register, and you pay or not pay. There's a little box for that. And we'll gather all that information, we'll develop the routes, and we will send out the bus passes in mid-August. And then this information will also be in X2 in the parent portal under the busing tab. So you can see what bus number your student's on, the time of their pickup and drop-off, and that's about all that's on the bus pass.
Location of the stop.
Oh yeah, location stop, thank you. And then the last page is just a little summary of how we've improved the program over the years with bringing on our transportation coordinator, Peter, and developing our own routes rather than the bus company and our own stops. And that's kind of the update on this year's 3,600 plus students riding the bus. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. One of mine is that I'm curious what the logic is behind K to 6 that are over 2 miles not paying a fee, but students in 7th, 8th, 9th grade still not old enough to drive, not having that same waiver.
Yep, that's in the Mass General Law, like Section 74 or
Okay.
something, yeah.
So it's a legal thing.
Yep.
Okay. And my other question was, I noticed that at the high school with the 23 buses, there is a lower count per bus of students on average than any of the other sites. Is there a reason for that?
I think what we've seen is the older the student gets, the less they ride the bus, and they are driving themselves or riding with friends. And then we run into time. So you don't want your route to be so long that you pick up the student too early, or you got to get them to school by 7:19 and then still make it in time for the middle school
So
run.
23 is the fewest number of buses that can kind of efficiently pick up the students. That's the,
Yes, it'd be better for us if we had more than 23. We're contracted for 29, but if we don't need it, we're not going to take it, but.
got it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I just wanted to emphasize what you said, if you read the memo, they try to start routing the buses in mid-August. So getting those registrations before that just makes it that much easier, and that way everybody, gets, it's what they would like to have for a stop. Whereas if you have the late registrations, those 700 people, they may come in the middle of the process and then have to kind of work it in with whatever's out there, so I just want to.
Thank you.
It would be really important. Do we send notices with the kids?
We've tried several forms of communication
Okay.
through when they come and register, Connect Eds.
Certainly get emails.
Yep.
You get emails, great. That's super.
Try to find that balance of not
Yeah.
over communicating where people don't like to read anymore, but let them know of important dates.
But clearly, a large number of people are aware of the early bird because that number is so much bigger than the others. So
Yes.
most people are getting the message and signing up early. So that's good.
Great.
Okay. The next part of transportation this is where you need to take a peek at the fee structure we're recommending, and it's the same, which is, the transportation fee structure is $200 per student with a family cap of $500. If you register early, you would get a $25 discount, so it would be $175 per student and a family cap of $400. If you register in July, that's the regular $200 per student, the $500 cap. If you register in August or beyond, goes up a little bit, $225 per student, still the $500 cap. And then if you register February 1st or later, it's $100 a student, and still with a family cap of $500. So this is the same rate structure we've had for several years now. So we recommend we adopt this fee structure again for next school year.
I do have one question. If someone moves here, like right before the school year starts, do they still pay that late fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on the rates of times? So this has been our rate for, I don't know, for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Five,
Dr.
six,
Hirsch
seven
said her
years.
students pay this rate,
Yeah,
her children
so-
pay.
And just so people know, this does not cover our transportation fees for the district. This is just,
Right.
is a small offset to help cover these fees.
Right.
We haven't, like I said, we haven't rated them for quite a few years, so.
Right, the big buses, it's about $2 million a year to run the big buses, and this brings in a little less than $400,000.
Yeah.
So it does help,
Yep.
but it doesn't pay the full thing.
I did hear today that the millionaire tax, I don't know if you saw this, is now close to 2 billion. 1.8 billion has been accounted for. And it's for transportation and education. So let's hope, right? Okay, so I need to make a motion.
You do.
Oh, wow. I motion to accept, I would like to move to accept the transportation registration calendar and the 2024-25 transportation fees as they have been presented by Joanne.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Right, all in favor? Aye. 4-0.
Okay. And then the last little handout is the little flyer that's on the website and in our connected message.
Still with the same little cute bus on the top.
Thank you.
Familiarity.
Consistent with the marketing. So, yeah, so we'll get that out.
Yep.
It's that advertising. Great. Third item on the agenda this evening is the school committee warrant signing schedule. Joanna prepared this for you, just updating the dates for the next fiscal year, fiscal '25. So this will begin in July. And then once approved, we'll put this in the Dropbox for you, just so you reference over the time. But this has been going well. Correct, Joanna?
Yes.
Any questions? I'll take a motion.
Make a motion, I move to accept the 2024-25 warrant signing schedule as presented.
Second?
Any other comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Next item, what's that?
You're going to make her do the whole meeting.
Well, I told you, this is a spotlight on Joanna in the business office tonight.
It's almost like a
She's
presentation.
big today.
Yeah, it is. Fourth item is a vote to approve the non-affiliated staff salary increases for fiscal '25.
Okay. Each year, are these both in here? Yep. Each year, we bring forward the request to a cost of living rate adjustment for the non-affiliated employees, and it ties to what we put in the budget that you approved earlier in the year. So there's actually two memos here. The first one is the traditional non-affiliated list of employees, and this is a 3% cost of living increase to their salary or hourly rate. And again, this is in line with what you approved in February for our 2025 budget. I also added to the bottom of the list 3 categories that haven't had a rate increase in several years, at least 7 years, likely more. The event custodians, so those are people, part-time people who come in and help with the work, when we rent out a facility or if we need extra help here, if we have people on vacations. That rate has been $20 an hour for several years, and we're recommending that go to $25 an hour. Again, it's part-time hourly. The student technicians, this we're recommending we keep at minimum wage. These are the students who help out with the events, the lighting, the audio. And then we also have an event technician. They're not a student anymore. Maybe they're a graduate. They come back and help. And that rate has been $20 for several years. And we're recommending that go up to $25, similar to the event custodian. So one's an event custodian, one's an event technician. So that's the first memo.
All right, why don't we do that one first? Anybody have any questions on this particular one?
This is,
All right, so mostly, the list is a lot of people in the tech office and secretaries and things like that. Is that it?
Yeah. Central office personnel who, and all these people are not in a collective bargaining unit.
Okay. What is, I'm just curious, what is the high school duty supervisor? What are they?
They're like the sub-coordinator
Okay,
for
okay.
just the high school.
All right, that's wonderful.
okay.
All right,
I make a motion to approve a 3% increase to the annual salary or hourly rate of non-affiliated staff as specified, effective July 1, 2024.
I second that.
all right, any further questions? I think we have to do roll call on this one.
call,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Diana?
Oh, aye.
Susan?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Aye. Okay, 4-0.
Okay.
Thank you. The second memo is another group of non-affiliated employees, and this is in the community ed program. Last year in April, you had approved the hourly rate increases for several of these categories for part-time hourly people who help with the extended day program, the adult ed program. Robin Adams had put together a nice summary of what other programs are paying, and in that, we adjusted what hadn't been adjusted in several years, and that's kind of the center column of what they're making now. So we don't fall behind again, we decided to come forward each year with an increase, and we're recommending 3% for this group for all of the categories except the summer programs, because we're coming forward to you in May, and we posted for these summer positions in February. So those postings already had the old rate on it, and so we're not going to adjust any of those higher letters or anything. We're going to go with our summer rates that people have committed to, but then we'll bring this forward earlier in future years so that we're talking about the summer program and the school year programs. Does that make sense?
So given the rate that we have now for the summer program, how has recruitment been
Pretty good. Yeah,
Has
and
been
I think
good.
part of it, though, is because they got out there early.
to get the recruitment in?
That's right.
Okay.
Given they
Okay.
hired them in February, so is this something we should be doing like the next fall or something, just to kind of?
So in talking with Robin Adams, I think we'll probably bring forward recommendations in February around the time when we do budgets.
Okay.
And then we'll probably post in like March.
Community Ed usually presents to us during the summer. Do we have,
Well, Community Ed and CHIPS are presenting at the next meeting.
Terrific.
They're the first. We usually have them be like right before we break for the summer, just because people are thinking about summer activities. So Robin and Megan are coming at the next meeting.
thank you.
Now, a lot of these positions, are they funded through community ed?
All of these are,
versus- Yeah,
correct.
okay.
Yep, great point. All of these are funded from the Community Ed revolving fund,
Okay, okay. Right, not part of the local budget?
not part of the local budget.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
I move to approve an increase to the hourly rate of pay or the stipend of non-affiliate part-time staff as presented effective July 1, 2024.
Seconded.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, Diana?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0.
Thank you,
Right.
Joanna.
Yeah.
Fifth item this evening is a report for you on fiscal '24. This is a new one. Fiscal '24 Circuit Breaker Extraordinary and Reserve Relief. So I'll let Joanna walk you through this. This we typically don't qualify for this, so this is like a new thing for us. Would you like to kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yep.
And then this particular revenue, as Joanna will talk about, is going to be noted a little bit afterward when we talk about the one-time expenditures in our budget projection, because this affects that.
That's right. Okay. All right, so every year we apply for circuit breaker relief, and every year we get around $2 million, okay? This year, we filed for extraordinary relief, which you have to fit a certain criteria, and it's basically 25% increase over your prior year. So Amy Reese did the filing in March. So it's like doing your circuit breaker claim that you normally do in July, you do it early. And we qualified for $530,908. That's one-time money this year that does not impact any future circuit breaker claims. However, you have to spend the money this year. It's meant to be immediate relief. So that was wonderful news. And like the superintendent said, that impacts the budget projection, because now we will put more of our out-of-district tuitions over to the circuit breaker fund now that we have an extra $530,908. Okay. So that's part one. Part two is, with that claim, there was a second available funds called reserve relief that the state had, and it had a different formula related to a certain percentage of your net school spending and so on. And there's a letter attached from DESI explaining all this. We qualified for another $408,963 of reserve relief. This, however, is tied to our future circuit breaker claim that Amy will file again in July. She'll do an updated claim in July, taking that March data and just updating it for any changes that happened, plus transportation. So she'll still do that claim. We'll wait for over the summer to see where we land with our claim, what percent the legislature reimbursement rate is. Is it going to be 75% plus transportation? Is it going to be something less than that? And whatever that number is, they are going to say, you already received 408,963 of that number. So therefore, your quarterly increment will be less because you received the 408,000 in May. But you don't have to spend that 408,963 this year. It's on the same schedule as if we would have filed just the one claim in July. So we know this number. We will see what our claim number is. We'll probably know in the fall of 2024. It's typically when it comes out in October. And then we'll monitor our cap of what we can keep our circuit breaker fund at. And then I'd just like to thank Amy Reese for doing the claim early. It's a lot of work to do it twice. So thank her again for doing the claim, and so we could be evaluated for extraordinary relief and reserve relief.
Questions? This
It's
is
amazing,
yeah,
it's
this is
wonderful.
Great news, yeah.
Yeah.
So we qualified, we haven't qualified for, because we're over that percentage. Is it because of, we have more students or because of the increase in out-of-district costs? What was the driver that?
I think the primary, even though we budgeted for the 14% increase in out-of-district tuition rates, we budgeted for that, we knew about that when we put together the 24 plan, it was still higher than our 2023 actuals. They're looking at actuals
Yeah,
over
okay.
actuals.
Yeah.
We did have, though, some students go out of district. We did have some students who moved in who were already out of district, so it's a little bit of both. But I would say the primary reason was the 14% increase in the OSD rates.
And we've, included this in next year's budget projections that we have these
Yes.
extra students or extra,
Yeah,
percentage.
so, again, like two things on this one. If you look at like the 530 number, that's kind of like free extra money for us for this year. And that was something that a lot of districts were kind of lobbying the state for because that OSD rate increase was so dramatically high. Some of the districts hadn't budgeted for that. So that's going to kind of fill a one-time hole. If you think about our actuals for '24 when we file, we're potentially going to get circuit breaker reimbursement for that in '25. So they'll be part of our claim going forward. But the 500,000 is kind of like the makeup money almost for this year. It's like one-time money. Other districts are really still struggling to get through fiscal '24, and they had again petitioned the state to try to get some additional money coming in. So the state was able to use like their versions of ESSER to free up for districts to almost prepay some of the special ed circuit breaker for next year. So they were able to do that with their grants. That's why they have different grants that are funding this. So we technically didn't need the money this year. We can just use it next year. But in talking to Joanna, if it's there and we can account for it, why not take it now and have it be in our accounts? And then, obviously, we'll just adjust for it when the claims come in next year. But then when we get to 26 a year from now, we anticipate just going back to normal. I don't see this happening again. But this was done at the request of a lot of districts who are just struggling to get through '24, making the money available ahead of time. So we know why. So the 530 is kind of free, and the others is just like a prepayment of money we were going to be due next fiscal year. But it's good news all around.
Yeah.
And we haven't accounted for that. You'll see it when we do the projections. We've accounted for that in our kind of version of free cash for this year. And then, obviously, next year's circuit breaker, we did budget what we anticipated the true tuitions, and they include those increases.
Okay. Right. Any other questions? No, I was happy to see that. I've never, 7 years I've never seen this. I was like, where does it come from? That's great.
Yes.
No, this is the first time. And Amy really did, in working with Joanna, a nice job of filing the claim because, if we hadn't, we wouldn't have been receiving an extra $500,000, you know, so that was well worth the effort.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So there's no vote or anything on that, that was just kind of more news for you. The next item on the agenda is just a recommended one-time budget expenses. So we had brought to you a list of some budget items a couple of meetings back, and we're still going through a process of refining some additional quotes that we had out. So you previously approved 1.6 million in one-time expenses. And so we have a second list this evening for you of a little over $500,000 of some additional items to recommend. Joanna, did you want to walk through the second attachment is just the updated projection slide? Do you want to kind of walk through that, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about some of these additional costs?
Sure. So the one page of the projection number, you saw this at the end of March, and then so you're seeing this again, but it's adjusted one more time, okay? So it's different from last year. I think you only saw it once, and then we just kind of kept working towards, I never changed the projection number, but this time I did because we already did it once, and we have this new $530,000 that we didn't know about in March. So there's our budget of $70,700,000 by the different DESI categories, just like the budget book on the left. Then there's the budget transfers. Those are the ones you've already approved throughout the year for the first set of one-time purchases for the 1.6 million. And now that column, the adjustments, my projection is that we'll still be favorable, 1,899,000. So that is the number we were going on when we brought forward this second set of one-time purchases. And you'll see in the memo, we're going to recommend that we prepay out-of-district tuitions for fiscal ~25 with some of this money too.
The only other thing I'd want to point out is, like, right now, Joanna's projecting the 1.9. That includes the extra $500,000 in the extraordinary relief. So we would have been at about 1.4 involved in rounded numbers if we hadn't received that extra $500,000. And that would have been in line with the first projection we did, but that extra $500,000 is included in this 1.9.
Right.
Any questions on the
Just the projection piece?
projections?
Okay. So then do you want me to walk through a couple of these?
Sure.
Okay, so then when we get into some of the items that we've been able to kind of refine at this point with, quotes that we can act on immediately, a couple of the bigger ones were related to the art rooms at Chelmsford High School. We had talked about this originally, that was one of our items on the town capital plan that wasn't ultimately included in funding, but we wanted to be able to get a head start on renovating some of the art rooms. So we do have funding on here for some new furnishings for 3 of the art rooms, ceiling tiles. We're going to install a new door in the kiln room so it can be accessed through a different art room at the high school. So that is a significant purchase. In the stadium, adding heat and air conditioning to the press box, which quite honestly is overheating and then cooling too much in the wintertime, and we have electronics in there, which potentially can be compromised. One of the things we also want to add at the high school, if you're out in the field area, is some additional storage units. So this would be to actually pour a concrete pad to put them on, and then some kind of like a modular building almost, just so that we can actually store the phys ed athletic equipment away in the off-season, so it's not out on the side of fields and things like that, to clean up the space a little bit. When Tom and Brian and Bill Silver were looking at the PAC in the McCarthy Auditorium, trying to kind of have those two lighting systems, because we had previously approved some lighting upgrades, to have them have a very similar setup, which will be easier for any of the technicians who are actually using the spaces. It'll be a little bit more interchangeable. We needed about another $40,000 to make that all come together. John Morris in the science department, just continuing to update at the high school specifically. I think this will actually finish the high school science labs with new tables and chairs for all of the students. We talked about doing, again, some additional security improvements or enhancements to the schools. So that single wire is the name of the check-in, check-out system, that we have a very similar product at the high school that we're going to be adding to all of our schools for the fall. So that number is going to be able to allow us to have that visitor management software and setup in each of our schools. So that's included there. We talked about like McCarthy, the vestibule we're going to be creating that's very similar to the high school. That'll be that same software system. At the other schools, we're going to start using the software system without necessarily that same physical structure. But that'll let us get off the ground with that. And then lastly, for the last number of years, actually this kind of goes into I guess the year before COVID, we had some available funding, so we started to, kind of as a benefit to parents, buy the back-to-school supplies for the kids. If you recall, we used to kind of post up on the website all the different wish lists and class lists, and parents would be out trying to buy everything for their kids to go back to school. And we actually funded that and then kind of streamlined the whole hiring process so that, not the hiring, the procurement process. So the goods are at the schools in the fall when they come back. And parents have really been happy about that. And for the kids too, they're all getting the same product and the same items, so it works well. So we've included funding for that again. So the total tonight would be just over $550,000 of additional one-time spending that we'd recommend.
Any questions on any? I just wonder, on the storage units, where are they going to put them at the stadium? And
All right, so if you walk into the stadium and you look left at the scoreboard, out in the back, you know where the ambulance comes in? There's an open area where there actually used to be a cement hut that got knocked down, but in the back corner is where they're going to pour the pad and then put the storage units.
Okay.
So they'll have access to the field because there's that rolling gate. And you'll also have access to the outside because that's where the ambulance comes in. So it'd be back in that back corner. So out of the way, kind of discreet, but just a good.
secure, though?
Oh, yeah, no, they'll be secure. And I can show you a picture of them, but they're like locked buildings that you can put all of the equipment in.
Another question, on these art supplies, it's classroom furniture, the 3 CHS art rooms.
Yes.
Is that, I remember that came up when we were trying to decide the order of what to do with capital.
Right.
So is this
So
part of that?
Yes, so it didn't get funded in our priority list with
Right.
capital. I want to say that was like project number 7 or 8. And we
Yes.
only got to project 5. But this is something that we wanted to jumpstart. So there are
Okay.
technically 5 spaces at the high school that are part of what we call the art lab. So we are actually going to be going in this summer. Previously, we've funded some of it, and this is kind of the follow-up now that we have the final quotes. So it'll be all new flooring, consistent through the 4 rooms. Adding a wall to one of the art teachers' room doesn't actually have a wall right now. It's more of an open space. So it'll be creating an actual classroom space for that individual. New paint in the entire area, new ceiling tiles and LED lights in the ceiling, like a drop ceiling like this. So that'll just kind of bring it all together. And then the 3 rooms that have the dedicated art teacher, we have 3 dedicated art teachers. It's all new furnishings for their rooms for the start.
Good.
The only thing that we're going to have to come back to and follow up on is on the technical side, we have almost 2 computer labs that are also kind of tied into the graphic art type program. So that includes the new flooring and paint and ceilings and lights for those rooms, but does not include new technology. So that may be something we look at a future year, or that is still technically on the town capital plan. But this lets us kind of jumpstart the project by ourselves, because this particular project just wasn't getting traction in the regular process.
Right, okay, that's great.
And this will cut the number down too, when we do. if
Well,
does.
it will when we go
Yeah,
back,
right, when we go back.
significantly.
So we might have a better
little
shot
more
of it,
than
yeah,
half.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good news.
And part of the rationale I'd use for this, even when we talk to the teachers, is we have put a significant amount of money into, we always do athletics and the PAC and, musicals and things like that. We haven't really made a significant investment specifically in the art rooms. And I think this is, certainly going to help them and just make a much, much more conducive space at the high school. The teachers are very excited about it. And we have the ability within our own budget to start this project. And I think it would be worthwhile.
And this is work that'll get done this summer?
Yes. Okay.
Great.
That's super.
Any other questions on the list? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the FY 2024 local operating budget transfers totaling $556,762. Shifting from the 15 DESI categories that are favorable to 5 DESI categories where the items should be purchased as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Diana?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. So there is just a second
more?
matter, maybe
Yeah.
Joanna can jump in on.
So this next request is recommending that we take some of our favorable variance this year and put it towards prepaying out-of-district tuitions for fiscal '25. I put up to amount just to give us a little flexibility as we get closer to year end. Of the up to amount is 1.8 million.
All right.
Do you know what we prepaid this year?
1.523,
Okay, so a little bit more than,
right?
okay.
Yep.
Right? Any other I'm sorry, any other questions?
Okay. I make a motion to approve the FY 2024 local operating budget transfer totaling up to $1,800,000 to fund prepaid out-of-district tuitions for the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Second the motion.
Any further questions or comments? I think this has worked out well for us for the last couple of years, so I think, as long as we can do it, it just gives you a little wiggle
It's
room.
allowable, it gives you flexibility in the budgeting for next year, and it really has worked well for us.
Great. All right, Diana?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0.
And thank you. And then we'll obviously, when we do our kind of closing report, either July or the first meeting in August, we'll report out what the actual number was for you, but this just gives us a target number as we're closing the books. Oh, Diana?
Can I ask an unrelated question? I noticed that Sharon isn't here, or do we have somebody else taking the minutes, because I was worried I was.
No, you're good. It's Sharon's birthday.
Yeah, you
so,
just started.
We'll do it all over again. No, it's Sharon's birthday, so she was off for the night. But what Sharon does, if she ever can't come for some reason, is she'll take the minutes from the recording. So she goes back after the fact and she'll watch the minutes. I'm sorry, she'll watch the meeting and she'll take the minutes and she'll send them to us. So you don't have to worry about anything.
Thank you, Charlie.
No, you're good. So, and she's done that a couple of times for us.
Sounds good.
And happy birthday, Sharon, when you do
Right.
it.
Yeah, that's great.
Eighth report this evening is kind of a final ESSER grant fund summary that Joanne is going to share with us.
Since 2021, we received 3 federal CARES Act grants, which the acronym is ESSER, E-S-S-E-R. We've spent out ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. We finished those out by the end of fiscal 2023. We have not finished spending ESSER 3, and that has an end date of September 30th, 2024. We have spent, well, the total grant is about 1.4 million. We've spent 845,000 through the 3 fiscal years. We have a small encumbrance of 41.5, and we still have an available budget of $541,538. We've spent the money on custodial cleaning hours and during the pandemic, the contract tracing hours. We had contracted services of $800,000 through the 3 years for the online tutoring platform, for our strategic plan development, for our special education opportunities review, and PD in the areas of equity and achievement, and our safety audit review was funded through here. We have not purchased any supplies. When we wrote the grant in November of 2021, we thought we would be purchasing technology for distance learning and also for custodial supplies to keep things clean, and we never needed to do that because by the time we got to this grant, those needs weren't there anymore. So we will be doing an amendment to shift the funds to where we will spend the money before September 30th, 2024. We plan to spend it in the areas of mental health services, more strategic planning and items, the student progress monitoring tools that Dr. Hirsch has talked about, some network security items, and like I said, strategic plan initiatives. And the next page is a little one-page summary of what we've spent through the 3 fiscal years, and then about 7 items where we plan to spend the $540,000 by September. And that's our update.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. I really commend everyone for doing a great job making sure we take advantage of this money. I've read so many times in the Globe or heard on the news about districts who haven't been able to make good use of this money that would have helped them a lot. And I commend all of you for making sure we make good use of this money that we have available, so.
And you too. You too for supporting it. You know, I think, you know, from the get-go, when we received the money, and I think a lot of districts struggled because it was coming obviously as a result of COVID, and it was very difficult. A lot of times we didn't take the tact where we were going to try to hire a lot of people or positions on the grant, because I think what you're seeing is a lot of districts now struggling with the grants coming to an end, and now they've kind of souped up on their staffing. It's not sustainable, and they're talking budget cuts. They would have been regularly looking at budget cuts anyway, because the Chapter 70 numbers just didn't hold to last year's numbers, but they also now are carrying all these extra positions they had on grants. So we were very kind of strategic in how we went about it, and purchased a lot of services early on to try to help our kids. We did a lot of like online tutoring and remote tutoring and things like that when COVID hit. We had earmarked a lot of funding for extra cleaning in the buildings. The town's version of ESSER is called ARPA, and they actually put a lot of ARPA funding into some of the HVAC system improvements and air filtering and things like that. So they were actually a good partner in this as well. But we really did kind of focus on improvements that we could make to technology. Bill had done a lot of purchasing on, obviously, like equipment, keeping our back end up and running, which was huge. Shannon Bischoff and the counseling group with the different services we had, whether it be Cantwell or Care Solace, has certainly been well utilized. And then our partnership with DM Group and our strategic planning and our sped opportunities review this year. That report's coming at the next meeting. You're going to be excited. You're going to love it. And so we actually did a lot of that kind of work, which was more kind of like one-time work, and it's not positions we're then having to carry into another year. So I know we've talked a couple of times, and even with Dennis, as far as kind of like showing kind of what the plan is, but we are on a good trajectory to fully expend our funds by the end of September. We've done a good job with, and Joanna really has done a great job with her and her staff doing all the reporting, because every time you get a federal grant, you get some type of federal entitlement, the reporting is ridiculous. And they do an excellent job of kind of keeping that up, keeping us in the good graces, having all of our audits completed and financial reports filed on time. And this is kind of how we anticipate closing this out. And then obviously at the end of September, October, whenever we're fully done, we can give you like the final spend. All districts are going to be doing that with DESE, but we're in very good shape.
And I would totally agree that transparency on this reporting is really appreciated, so thank you.
I would agree, you know, I think you said, you're reading the paper about the districts in trouble because they were spending their money unwisely, I guess, and we haven't. So having said that, are some of these things we are gonna have to pick up in the future, like the panorama, the cartwheel, the Care Solace, those things we're gonna
Yeah,
have
I
to
mean,
budget for?
those are things that we obviously have come to rely on.
Right.
You know, they're not people, they're not positions, but they're services that we are going to have to figure out a funding source and a mechanism for. But they're not immediate, you know, they're not immediate next year, and it's not like $1 million worth of things we have to add.
Right.
But yeah, we are going to have to start adding these into our operating budget.
Right, take a motion to accept the,
I move to accept the final ESSER grant fund summary as presented.
I second.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 9 tonight is just an update on, it's our personnel report for the month, and this details activity through April. And our HR office, Diane Carey and Tina Bradshaw and Nancy Souza have been really busy doing hiring for our fall season. So this is the report where you start to see people's names associated. Anytime there's an effective date of August 26th, that means the individual is signed and joining us next year. So that's our opening day orientation. But we have a number of new hires that are coming into the district that we're really excited about. I forget who had asked, but our 2 new elementary math specialists, remember you by Dan, they're actually on here. So they're going to be coming over the summer. We're excited about those hires. We're really in a pretty good place. We still have a few that we need to wrap up. We, obviously have been challenged in a couple of areas. I mentioned at the last meeting, like psychologists has been in areas where we, typically if you have 1 in a year to hire, that's a big thing. We ended up, unfortunately, had 3 phenomenal ones who are retiring. So filling 3 jobs in 1 year is tough. So that's taken us a little bit longer, but we're really moving along fairly well. A couple of resignations and then some assignment changes. And those are staff who already work within our school system, who have applied for and been considered and accepted into different positions in different buildings for next year. So even though they're not new staff to us, they'll be new in a different role. And we just highlight that for you just so that you can kind of keep track of the comings and goings of staff of the district. So just sharing for information purposes and happy to answer any questions.
Anna?
I did have a quick question.
Yeah.
I know there's been some work from the district to try to increase the diversity of the applicants coming into our district.
Mhm.
I'm curious if we have any data yet on the diversity of the workforce that is applying for these roles.
I can certainly, when we get a little deeper into the process, maybe like another month or 2, just as we're kind of closing things up, I can have Diane put a little report together for you on the hiring. I do know applicant-wise, it's still very competitive and it's still very challenging to get diverse candidates to even apply for jobs. I know we try to get them in and interview as many as we possibly can. Their work in HR has really been focused on going to new job fairs that we traditionally haven't in the past. And we have actually gotten some candidates from job fairs that we haven't in the past, but I think she would be best to speak to exactly what that's been. But I'm happy to follow up on that.
Thank you, that'd be great.
Sure.
All right, any other questions or comments? I had just 2 comments. Number 1, good job finding 2 unicorns. I know we said we're gonna be
I
a hard
know,
time finding
I
the
know.
math specialists, and they already have 2, that's great.
Yeah.
And secondly, I just wanted to, put it out, I saw we got a guidance counselor for the STEP program at McCarthy.
Yes.
The transfers. I just wanted, so I happened to bump into somebody the other day whose daughter went through the STEP program at the high school, and she had nothing but good things to say. Said it was the best thing in the world as his daughter came back from, an illness, and, to the point where the daughter now in college wants to study.
Oh, really?
And become a guidance counselor and get, or a counselor of some sort and get involved. So just figured I'd mention that because it just has been very timely. The conversation was probably last week, and I saw we were able to do this at the middle school, so that's great. Help those kids out.
Yeah, Julia, who is a social worker over at Parker, applied for the job over at McCarthy, and so she's going to be heading over to be the counselor for that new program. She's really excited about it. So yeah, that program is really shaping up well. I'm excited about it too.
Great.
But that's good feedback.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. I make
So-
a,
Well, I don't think we did a motion on that one.
I don't need a motion, I'm into motions.
Something you could approve it as a report of progress if you'd like, or there's technically no voting action. It's just me kind of sharing.
Yeah, this is really good. I know there are key positions. I'm not gonna ask about them tonight, and I think we always get some kind of report as well in the summer from HR. We usually do.
Oh, well, you get these I do them
Right.
once a month. So you get the second meeting of the month, we usually do the update for you. You're
Right.
just gonna now start to see all the hiring for
Okay.
next year. But I certainly can, when we come to July, I can flag any open positions we have, just so that you know what's still open and what we're working on.
Because it's really a concern, right now.
Yep. And we can add your diversity thing to the, to it.
That would be lovely, thank you.
Yeah. Last for me is just approval of some field trip requests.
Okay.
The first 4 this evening are community ed related. So again, these are our summer programs. We have a couple of different series. We have Summer Fest so these are all day trips. These are not overnight trips, but they just happen to be out of state. So they go to Canopy Lake Park on July 10th. There's a different program called Summer Quest. And they're also looking to go to Canopy Lake on July 11th, 25th, and August 8th. And then Summer Quest going to Stevens Park and Chunky Cinema up in Manchester on July 23rd. Summer Quest, I believe, is the program that they do, it's more field trip based, and it's different groups of kids, so it's not the same kids going every time, right? It could be like different kids going. But those are the trips for community ed, and they're pretty historic. Those are the ones we've always approved.
Yeah, can we just put them together?
Oh, you can do them all together if you want.
We'll just do these,
Sure.
yes, let's do these three first, yeah.
You want me to do them separately?
No, just do the community ed ones, and then we'll do the high school one.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the community educational Summerfest program field trips. I believe there are 3 as presented.
That's fine.
Seconded.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to approve the Chelmsford High School Student Cultural Experience, Panama and Costa Rica, April 17 to 27, 2025 field trip.
Do you want to give us a quick summary of that?
Sure, and that's just a field trip that's on, where this is it's kind of like not an exchange, but it's our kids going on a cultural experience. They have to start fundraising now. The trip isn't until the next April school vacation, but we always come early on these trips so that you have enough time to be able to approve, and then the groups can start to do their fundraising, because there is a cost for the kids. So that's before you this evening for approval as well.
And hopefully they go through it. Wasn't your daughter supposed to go to the Costa Rica one?
They did go to
Oh, they
Costa
ended
Rica.
up going? Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay, nice.
And they promised me no, they swore when they came back, they're never going again. Too many bugs in the middle of the night in the forest.
I was gonna say, I
That's what
want
they
to go,
told
but
me.
maybe not, though.
Not a good advertisement for this program.
No, but they really enjoyed it. They had a great time.
Okay, so we have a motion. I'll take a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
And that's all I had for
All right,
tonight.
great. Anyone have any liaison reports?
Yeah, I do.
Susan?
It must have been after the last meeting, I went to the Harrington PTO meeting. They had a math night, a family math night. They are having Thursday night, they have their art show and their ice cream social. I'll be there scooping ice cream, so it'll be fun. And I'm really happy for them that they were able to get a full slate of candidates to carry their PTO board forward next year. I was a little worried for them, but they have enough people to even have co-presidents and the vice president. So they'll be nice and solid for next year, and at June 5th meeting, they'll be voting for that,
So
for their board, so I'm glad.
Good. Diane, you have anything?
I actually have not. There's a meeting on Thursday I'm going to, and the other one hasn't met since we last met.
Great, okay.
for me too, center's coming up and then the council.
Okay. I just had CPAC met Thursday after we met last, and they had just a general turnout, a general meeting, and actually a good turnout. There were 18, 19 people. They're really, like a lot of PTOs, they're really looking for other people to step up. There's been 2 or 3 people that really kind of carried it since COVID. Done a great job, but they would like to, see some new blood on the board. So they're asking, people to kind of consider that. They'll have another meeting next month. They're going to send out a survey to parents, just to see what they'd be interested for. Workshops next year, so they put on workshops throughout the year. Speaking of which, they also have a workshop this Thursday. It's a virtual workshop on the new IEP. So if anybody's interested in that, you can see their information on Facebook, on the Chelmsford CPAC, and log into it. It'll be a Zoom meeting, so.
That's terrific.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we already mentioned it, but Alumni Association's having their scholarship meeting tonight, so. All right, anyone have any new things they would like to see in agendas? Oh, that's good. All right, must be doing a good job.
Thank you. There was a lot tonight.
Yep.
Joanna worked hard.
That's right. All right, no second public comment. I don't think anybody, we don't see any emails or any messages. Nope. Okay. All right, so if not, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
Okay, first I'd like to thank Dennis for making me look good tonight, because he prepared all my motions for me. So really, thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Dennis.
I saw there was a lot of motions
I
tonight.
felt really good doing this. I had highlighted everything, but this was top notch.
Great.
And so I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Dennis
much.
made me look good here. This was a lot.
Well, I
about
looked at it,
to
I was like,
be
holy mackerel.
Actually,
Great,
very
thank you.
impressed with